What's up YouTube, my name is Sam. I work under the artist name of Kaio. Today we're going to be breaking down how I made this dreamy guitar lo-fi track. I'll just play a quick preview of it here and then we'll jump into the project file and see what's going on. As you can hear, it's got a really dreamy, lo-fi, nostalgic type of vibe to it. So let's jump into that project file and we'll see how we made it. So I started this track the same way that I start most of my tracks, with a chord progression, and then I built everything around the chord progression. We're using the Labs soft piano here. We've got the reverb turned up a little bit, along with the dynamics at around 40% or so. So these chords form the main structure of the song. We've got a B minor 7 going into an A major chord, back up into that B minor, and then back down into that A major. You'll notice we've got some different intonations of the chords going on here. So we've got C sharp from the A major chord has been pushed up 1 octave, and then here we've actually suspended the chord to use that E instead of the D. Let's take a listen to how those chords sound. Really nice, really warm. It's got kind of a moody vibe to it, and that suspension in the third chord just adds a nice little bit of drama, and then when it resolves with the A major chord, it just sounds really lovely. Once I had those chords down, I knew that it needed a little bit of movement, so I added a counter melody to those chords. Let's take a listen to how that sounds, and then we'll take a look at what's going on. So as you can hear, really simple. So all we've done to add a little bit of movement there is we've just added a few notes that hit in between every chord. So you've got chord, note, chord, note, chord, note, chord, note. And it just adds the movement as well as a little bit of interest. As the track builds, we start introducing these multiple layers to really add more interest to the track. Once we had that down, I moved on to the main melody of the track. I used the decent sampler claustrophobic piano for this one. I turned off everything except the note sound because I really wanted just the dry signal, and then I would process it a bit later on. And for this melody, it adds loads of movement to the track. So this is the main focus melody of the track. Let's take a listen. So sticking with that nostalgic kind of playful theme that this song has. And you can hear that we've got some processing going on there. So all we've done is put an EQ on with a high pass and a low pass, and we've really focused in on those middle ground, the sort of 300 to 1000 range. And then we've got a Valhalla Supermassive on the default setting, just turned down a little bit in the mix. Let's take a listen to how that all sounds. We've got our main core elements of the track now. We've got a real sort of emotional, moody kind of vibe going on. I then moved on to adding in a guitar. We used the chill guitar preset from Flex, and we did some processing on the guitar sound, but let's take a listen and then we'll jump into the processing afterwards. really simple, and in the verse it actually, as you may have noticed, is missing a few notes. They come in sort of the hook of the song, but in this section we've just got bass notes, and they sort of follow the main melody a little bit, but not entirely, just adding some layers of interest. All we've got going on that guitar sound is a Valhalla Supermassive on the default preset, but we've tweaked it ever so slightly. I turned the density all the way down and the mix to about 50% there. And then once we had that on there, rolled off the lows on the EQ to make sure it wasn't muddy sounding, upped sort of around that 400 range to add a bit of warmth to the sound, and then rolled off those highs down to about 3000 hertz. We don't want the sound to be too sharp. Once we had all of these elements together, I added this bass sound. And you'll notice here that we've got 2 octaves of notes playing. The lower octave just wasn't giving the bass the sound that it needed, but the higher octave was too thin. So let's take a listen to how all that sounds together. It's coming together really nicely now. Once we had all of those elements together, I moved on to my drums. As always, I kept my drums relatively simple. So we've got a kick going on here. We add in a rim, a snap, and that's hitting every other beat. Shaker, and that's it. That's all of the drums that we added to this track. Now that we've got the drums down, we've got the main hook, the main elements of the track. I added some ambience. So we've got a coffee shop ambience going on here, and then also some rain sounds. Once all of that's together, we've got the main part of a track. So let's take a listen. Sounding really nice now. Once we had all of these elements together, I then worked on arranging the whole track into a whole song. And as you can see, we've got some other stuff going on a bit further down the line. We've got sort of a bridge section going on here. To make this slightly different, to keep the track interesting, I then brought in another guitar sound. And this plays the chords in sort of a strummed arpeggiated pattern. And this takes over from the piano in the bridge. Makes the bridge a little bit lighter. It follows the same chord pattern, and that keeps the song interesting without shocking the listener too much. Let's take a listen to this guitar. So as you can hear, it's kind of stripped back. After everything comes together here, I stripped everything out of the track essentially, except from the chords, that main piano melody, and just this guitar. And then they play together, and then we're sort of building that track again. So we almost go back to the start where there's just a few elements, and then we build it up to that hook again. Let's take a listen to that bridge now. And then everything comes in all together. We keep that background guitar in so that Again, we're not shocking the listener. It all flows seamlessly together and it just kind of fits right in the mix really nicely. So yeah, that's the whole track. That is a really quick run through of how I built this track. I haven't gone into the processing too much. Do let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do that a bit more in these videos. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just going to play this track one more time.